Beautiful people, it is your boy, the head Anthony Walker here for another installment of the Wrestling Matters podcast. Video podcast, whatever the hell you want to call it, it's still the Wrestling Matters podcast anyway. How are you all doing? I hope you guys are well. Welcome to today's show. We're going to talk Raw. We're going to talk SmackDown. We're going to talk what possibly nearly would have been the greatest moment in the history of Raw if it hadn't been for a certain WWE legend. More on that later. Also, we're going to talk something that popped up today before I started recording this. Possible Hulk Hogan TV role. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, why does he need to be on TV? Well, it's a possible TV role that could very well end up building towards next year's WrestleMania, where the rumor has it that the NWO could be in the Hall of Fame. More on that later as well. But let's start, and there's probably a lot more to discuss as well, good points, bad points as well, but we'll get to them during the duration of this podcast. I won't go into too much detail, because like I say, 60 minutes is the limit on this podcast. But let's go and see what is happening on here as well. Oh yeah, and I suppose I'll throw a little bit of Smackville. I don't know why. Because if you ask me, Smackville was a waste of time. Raw's results go from John Cena returned and traded raps with the Usos, basically punking them out. Mentioning the proverbial, how was it getting arrested? Funny you should mention that, because the Usos got arrested again for DUI. TMZ broke the news last week that the Usos were arrested again for DUI. So, how ironic that happens, and a couple of days later, it happens again. So, irony. Usos defeated the Raw Tag Team Champions, The Revival. Drew McIntyre managed to get his revenge on Cedric Alexander for the week before. The Viking Raiders beat the hell out of Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. Roman Reigns came out, Joe came out looking for a fight, and he got one in Reigns, and then Reigns won the title. Beat Joe up, sorry. Paul Heyman confronted Seth Rollins and almost paid for it on Miss TV. Rey Mysterio beat Sami Zayn, which was kind of weird, quite frankly, because it was the Raw reunion, and he was disrespecting all the legends backstage, which built up to the match. And Rey Mysterio went one-on-one with Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn took a 5-star frog splash from Rey Mysterio, because as Sami Zayn got out of the ring and he was on the verge of going backstage, the legends piled out. And the first legend that piled out was Rob Van Dam. That's right, Rob Van Dam, who had a tremendous match on Impact last week against Willie Mack, who was meant to be on Impact, turns up on Raw. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, how could that happen? Well, I discussed this with a few people on Facebook as well. The only logic around that is WWE made a deal with Impact, or Impact made a deal with WWE because of what happened at Slammiversary. Because if we didn't watch Slammiversary, Brian Cage beat Michael Elgin to retain the title. Michael Elgin beat the hell out of Cage after the match. As he was doing that, Elgin almost got out of Don Callis. And as he was about to do a powerbomb to Don Callis, this masked, muscled up wrestler, or this masked guy, comes in the ring and gores Michael Elgin. Lo and behold, that was Rhino. And it was confirmed this past week on Impact, because Rhino is now in Impact Wrestling. The only logic behind Rob Van Dam even turning up, unless he was invited and Impact approved it, because JR was invited and AEW approved it, but JR declined it. So the only logic around that is they must have done a deal way back to invite Rob to Raw for the anniversary, for the Raw reunion, and then obviously Impact wanted something in return. They obviously wanted something in return, and they got the Rhino thing, as we all saw at a Slammiversary. Like I said, it's not the first time they've done that, because obviously they did a deal with Impact, TNA, whatever the hell they were called back then, to allow Ric Flair to be inducted into the Hall of Fame with the Horsemen. He was already inducted in solo, but they wanted the Four Horsemen to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So obviously they made a deal to allow that to happen, and Impact got Christian Cage to show up on their pay-per-view, which was, ironically, Slammiversary. This was during the Hogan era of TNA. So that's my only logic behind it, but it was surprising. And like I say, Rey Mysterio ends up doing a 5-star frog splash in honor of Rob Van Dam and gets the victory. Now, many of you people probably wondering what the hell was going on in this match. Seth Rollins, AJ Styles. You're probably thinking to yourself, how is Seth Rollins in this match? I'll tell you the reason why in a second. Yes, but Rollins beat AJ Styles via disqualification because the OC, as they're now known, for God's sake, as we all know, it's the club. The OC came in and attacked Rollins after they were going to do it to begin with. That was until DX showed up. Triple H and Shawn Michaels came out and made it even. And then Gallows and Anderson tried to do it again. DX come in, and then the OC tried to sweet talk DX into joining them and turning on Rollins because, you know, the whole click thing. You're one of us and all that. And then as as Shawn were going to do the too sweet thing with the OC and everything like that, they turned around and went, suck it, and then the fight broke out. And as it was about to go down again, Road Dogg, X-Pac, Kevin Nash, and Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, turn up. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, why did that happen? Well, I'll tell you the reason why that happened. It wasn't meant to be Seth Rollins and AJ Styles. It was meant to be Ricochet and AJ Styles. But apparently, Ricochet had an infection in his arm that he couldn't get cleared before the show. So they had no choice but to put Seth Rollins in the match. So Seth Rollins got the rub. It should have been Ricochet. Because, I don't know, it seems that Bischoff, and I'll get to SmackDown in a little bit, but it seems that Bischoff has not took over SmackDown yet. But it pretty sure seems that Heyman's put his fingerprints on Raw. That's why Raw's been a bit decent lately. Because there's a lot of people that Heyman wants to push. Ricochet's high on that list. That's why they probably got him working with Styles. Heyman apparently thinks the world of Ricochet. And he wants to push him to the moon. Like I said, will we see Ricochet become Universal Champion at some point? Probably. But he's getting that push. And there's a few other people as well that he wants to push, apparently. But Ricochet is high on that list. So that's why. But it's a shame that Ricochet wasn't a part of that segment on Raw. Because it would have been cool to see. But hey, Rollins got it as well. Anyway, Mick Foley comes out, tries to chase the 24/7 title and everything. He says, I'll get you later and all that. But he wasn't around to get anybody later because Bray Wyatt got him. Bray Wyatt came out and attacked Foley and hit him with his own finishing move, the Mandible Claw. Becky Lynch and Natalya brawled in a moment of bliss. Strowman beat Randy Rowe in a squash match. And I'll get to these two bits now. Because Austin, Hogan, Ric Flair ended the show, mainly Austin, ended the show with a real speech about Monday Night Raw. And it felt real, and it was just great to see. But the highlight of this episode, and I can't even believe I'm saying it, was the 24/7 title. Now, everybody knows, if you've watched the previous episodes of this podcast, okay, on YouTube, you know I can't stand the fucking 24/7 title. I don't care how successful it is, how much viewership it's getting, how entertaining it is awful. I'm not a fan of it. However, it has had its good moments. I'm a man enough to admit that it's had its good moments. Was this one of them? I don't know. But the 24/7 championship was pretty much a deal, quite frankly. And I cannot believe the amount of people that were in this, or that were taking part in this. First off, it kicked off with Maverick, and then it was Truth. Truth and Maverick continuing their feud. Patterson got involved and won the title. Gerald Briscoe, of all people, won the title. Where have I seen that before? Oh yeah, the hardcore title back in the day, when they ended up having a friggin' evening gown match. One of the worst matches on any wrestling pay-per-view ever at King of the Ring. Sorry to bring that up, people. And then Kelly won the belt. This is when it got really ridiculous. Kelly winning the belt. Candice Michelle winning the belt. Still doing her little stupid little pawn thing. That was until she walked into Alundra Blaze, and Alundra Blaze pretty much choked her out, with Melina as the referee, for crying out loud. Who came up with that idea? Why didn't Melina just freaking step in and do something? I don't... It just... And then Alundra Blaze wins it. She turned around and says, I'm not going to be champion for long. And we were all wondering what the hell that was about. Alundra Blaze walks out on the Raw stage, grabs a bin, and was about to do the greatest thing in the history of Raw, and the greatest thing ever. And that was throw the belt in the trash can, like she did the women's title on Nitro. Remember that segment? I literally would have made out with her if she did that on that episode there. I'd have took her backstage to my hotel room if I was there and done her. But unfortunately, that didn't take place. We were that close of seeing the greatest moment in the history of Raw, bar none, end of. And as she was about to do it, DiBiase walks out and buys it, just like he did, or tried to do, to the WWE title back in the late 80s. He bought the 24/7 championship. Apparently the money he gave her was fake, from what I heard. Didn't care. And then as he went back out to his limo and drive off, yes, Maverick and R-Truth got involved. And then R-Truth pins Drake Maverick after he got the belt back. And then Truth pins him, gets his belt back, dives in the limo with Maverick's wife, by the way, and then drives off. And then it took Drake a little bit of a realization that it was that close, about a couple of seconds to realize not only did Truth take the title, he took his wife with him too. But it seems that it's getting to the point there's a bit of ECW about this as well, because back in the day, Francine used to go around when she was managing Just Incredible that you ain't getting no booty, no nookie off me until you get that belt back. It seems that's the case now with Drake Maverick, because apparently his wife has said that he ain't getting no nookie, or they ain't consummating the marriage until he gets that belt. Good luck with that, honey. It's amazing he'll have it for 5 minutes. If you want him to consume the marriage with you, or consummate the marriage with you, and you won't do it because he hasn't got that belt. If you want him to get that belt before you consummate the marriage, you need to get You need to get him to get the belt and then fly to another planet where people won't get you. It's pretty hard to keep a belt when when it's called A, the 24/7 title, and B, the title's on the line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For all you know, honey, you could be consummating the marriage right now, and then somebody could walk in and pin Maverick. Yeah, so really good logic on that one, right? But anyway, damn you, DiBiase, because we almost had the greatest moment in the history of Raw. And I would have literally made out with her if I was there. Who the fuck's Randy Rowe? I don't know. But I know they're trying to push. I know they're trying to push the title. They're trying to push Strowman. I know him trying to push Strowman and maybe giving him back his monster persona. But I don't know. It's just logic. Apparently Nicholas showed up as well on Raw. Y'all remember Nicholas? Strowman's tag team partner that he picked out at WrestleMania? Yeah, that Nicholas.
All right, on a night filled with superstars
returning,
this, probably the biggest one to return here tonight, Nicholas. Nicholas, what brings you to Monday Night Raw tonight?
I didn't come to win the WWE tag team title. I came to win the 24/7.
And apparently Nicholas wants that 24/7 title. Oh, just when this couldn't get any worse. You know, just, you know. Anyway, I'm going to check that segment out in a second. But anyway, apparently they didn't come to win the tag team titles. He came to win the... whatever. Anyway. But that was Raw for you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to SmackDown. I'll do SmackDown quickly as well. And then we'll talk about Hulk Hogan. Let's go to SmackDown. Apparently, on SmackDown as well, there's a few things that took place on SmackDown. Yes, it was meant to be Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, but it ended up being Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns beating up Elias, Shane McMahon, and Drew McIntyre. We finally got a promo segment with Kofi Kingston and Randy Orton, which is going to be... I'll get to that in a second. So, Owens and Shane McMahon agreed to their match with a special stipulation, which is Kevin Owens loses. He's out of WWE. Nakamura beats Apollo Crews. Ember Moon beats Charlotte Flair thanks to a little bit of help from Bayley, but then Ember Moon turns on Bayley and takes both wrestlers out, actually. I think she sent a message to Bayley through that, but then drops Charlotte Flair as well with the Eclipse. Kofi battles Samoa Joe. Kofi battled with Samoa Joe, so Randy Orton tried to pre-SummerSlam Havoc on Kofi. And even Joe as well, because he RKO'd Joe. Finn challenges Bray Wyatt to a match at SummerSlam. I'll get to that in a second. And then it was the ending as well. The Kevin Owens-Roman Reigns match that Shane made turned into a massive problem for Shane McMahon because basically Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns joined forces to beat the hell out of Elias and Drew and Shane as well. Get one over, basically. But let's talk about the segment of Miz TV. It was meant to be Shawn Michaels doing the announcing, but apparently that wasn't the case. So Shawn ended up going on Miz TV, and then Dolph Ziggler came out, and there was a good back and forth between the two. And then Shawn pretty much called Ziggler poor man's Shawn Michaels, and then Shawn takes a super kick after punching Ziggler in the face after he clotheslined Miz, and then Shawn takes the super kick. So, apparently Dolph's scheduled for a match at SummerSlam against who, I don't know, but I can tell you this, it ain't Ziggler or, it ain't Miz or Shawn Michaels, unfortunately. Bouncing back off Charlotte Flair cut a promo demanding to be at SummerSlam. Now, there was rumours flying around that that it was going to be a triple threat match again like last year. But thankfully, that's not the case. Because after this show, a couple of days later, word got out that Trish Stratus was wrestling, or going to be wrestling at SummerSlam. And apparently it's going to be Charlotte Flair versus Trish Stratus at SummerSlam. And Trish is scheduled to be at SmackDown tomorrow, as I'm doing this recording right now. Tomorrow night. It's Monday now, so she's scheduled to be at SmackDown tomorrow to build into a match between her and Charlotte for SummerSlam. Thankfully, I even said to her, when I saw the news, because Charlotte cut the promo, and then a couple of days later I saw the news on YouTube that Trish is wrestling or training for a match at SummerSlam, or training to come back and maybe be at the match at SummerSlam. When she's going to come back further than that, I don't know. I literally said on the comment, Charlotte versus Trish, I'll be down for that based on what happened on SmackDown, because of what she said. She demanded to be on SummerSlam. Fine. Charlotte versus Trish. That kind of stuff. Perfect. The Kofi Kingston Randy Orton bit, apparently it's going to be, well, we all know it's going to be Kofi and Randy at SummerSlam for the title. I even said this to somebody yesterday when I was working. It seems that, from what I've gathered, there's a match that's been advertised, from what I've seen on the news on the internet, that it's going to be Kofi and Randy at Hell in a Cell. And I would imagine that'll be a Hell in a Cell match. So what the thing is with this, there's two ways this could go. They could have Kofi go over on Randy at SummerSlam. Kofi go over Randy at SummerSlam. And then work towards Hell in a Cell and have Orton beat him in Hell in a Cell for the title. Or they could have Orton beat Kofi for the championship at SummerSlam, go to Hell in a Cell, Kofi beats him in Hell in a Cell. That's the two ways they could go with this. Whether this will happen or not, I don't know. But it seemed it's going either way because of the supposed advertised match that's taken place. So, I don't know about that one. But we'll see. I would imagine Kofi would be going over Randy at SummerSlam. Probably. I don't know. But that seems that's two ways they're going with it. And as for Bray Wyatt, the whole Bray Wyatt Finn Balor thing, really glad that, I love that. Good segment between the two. Balor came out and challenged him. Everybody's wondering, and by the way, apparently Balor had a 24-hour bug that kept him out of a match at Smackville against Shinsuke Nakamura. It was supposed to be him and Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship again, but apparently of the illness, they couldn't get him to be cleared for the match. So they shot in Ali instead. So I don't know where they're going with Nakamura for the match at SummerSlam, because I was thinking they were going to go with Nakamura and Ali for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam, but they've already done it. So where's that going with Nakamura? Will Nakamura be defending the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam? We all know it won't be against Finn Balor because he's got his hands full with Bray Wyatt. Now, people are probably thinking, oh, Bray's going to win and Bray's going to be... No. Okay? One, there's not going to be a demon at SummerSlam. They'll probably save that for, I don't know, Survivor Series or something. Should they go with this, continue with this after SummerSlam. Because after SummerSlam, I would imagine it'll be after SummerSlam because Balor's taken some time off. That's already been cleared. So this match between Balor and Bray at SummerSlam, it's just Balor putting Bray over. Because he's going away for a couple of months. It's already been cleared. So obviously, if he's going away for a couple of months, obviously they've got him to do this match and thought, oh, we do us a favour, put Bray over at SummerSlam for us. You could do it after SummerSlam. You can have your break after SummerSlam. Have this match with Bray at SummerSlam and just put him over, and then on your way you go as well. So that's what it is. This whole thing is just to put Bray over. What is going to be happening between him and between Bray Wyatt after SummerSlam? Who knows? Who knows? But this is what it is, because obviously they're going to build and push Bray to the moon. You know, the first match since coming back for Bray Wyatt is going to be at SummerSlam. And obviously they're going to push Bray to the moon with this character, just to see where it goes. And Balor is the first guy that's going to put him over. He's putting him over. It would make no sense if Balor wins. It'd make no iota of sense if Balor wins, especially since he's leaving that for a couple of months afterwards. So, yeah, that's what it is. People probably thinking, oh, they're bringing the demon about and everything like that. They're not going to bring the demon out because, A, the demon is apparently undefeated, and they're not going to jeopardize that yet. They're obviously building towards the demon losing at some point, but obviously they're not going to do it at SummerSlam. So it's going to be the regular Finn Balor, and plus, like I say, all this match is just to put Bray over, so Balor can be on his merry way. So it's basically Balor doing WWE a favour before he takes the time off, which I'm sure he has no problem doing. So, yeah. But other than that, guys, tremendous, a decent Raw and a decent SmackDown. What's going to take place, we shall see. So, on that. Now, before I came on to this episode, to record this episode and do this podcast today, I found out something. Apparently, Hulk Hogan has got a TV role planned. What would that be? I don't know. Because would you fit him in as a GM? You know, is he going to be a manager? I would imagine that would be the only logical thing he'll be, is a manager. Because it's pretty hard for him to be the GM when you've got Bischoff and Heyman on both shows now as the executive directors. So it's pretty hard for them. It's pretty hard for him to be the GM when they've gone with that with Heyman and Bischoff. So the only logical thing is on that, if he's got this TV role, it's going to be a managerial role, at least from what I've got. So I imagine it's going to be a managerial role. It has to be a managerial role. It has to be. So that's the only thing that it can be. But apparently, from what I've gathered, this is all building up to possibly next year. Because there's a lot of talk, even though we're not frigging past SummerSlam yet, there seems to be talk about the NWO going into the Hall of Fame. Now, that's the only logical thing we've got at the moment. We'll probably won't know until probably, or at least towards November, more information about this. I was going to say, we haven't even got past fucking SummerSlam yet, and we're already talking about this. So, yeah. Like I said, that's the only role that I can think of him playing. If WWE are going to give him a TV role to be on WWE television, it can't be the GM because of Bischoff and Heyman. It'll have to be a managerial role. That's the only thing I can think of. Unless they put him on the commentary table, which I don't see happening, quite frankly. No, I don't know if that would fit, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, I definitely see him as a managerial role. That's the only logical thing I can think of in that respects. Hulk Hogan as a manager. Who the fuck he would manage, I don't know. I don't know. I'll leave that for you to decide on that one. I'm sure you guys are rattling your brains about that one as well, aren't you? But apparently this whole new TV role that he's got is to possibly build, or set a platform for next year for him being in the Hall of Fame with the NWO. He's already in the Hall of Fame anyway as a solo, but apparently it's going to be him being in there with the NWO, which it's about fucking time. What will happen? Who knows? Also, Daniel Bryan is getting a renewed push with Bischoff, because apparently, from what I've got from JD from New York, apparently he's high on Bischoff's list, which is fucking phenomenal. I agree with JD with what he said. Music to my ears, because what can you do with Daniel Bryan? I mean, there was all this rumor that the big major announcement that he was supposed to put out was him going to 205. What the fuck? Yeah, he'd probably fit on 205, and there'll be some excellent matches he'd be able to go to. But I don't know. Daniel Bryan, Cruiserweight Champion? Nah, I don't think so. But apparently Bischoff's high on him, high on his talent and everything, and he wants to put him back in the main event scene for SmackDown, which should be happening, quite frankly. It made no sense him being in the fucking tag team division to begin with. They put him in there, you know. They obviously they clearly put him in there just to bounce off the old thing with Kofi and everything like that. But like I said, it made no sense them two being SmackDown Tag Team Champions anyway. So, but it's good to see him back, and it would be good to see him back in the main event scene. How it would pan out, because it seems that they're pushing for Randy Orton to take the belt off Kofi. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to see, but it'd be interesting to see how it all works out. So, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it all falls apart and everything. Or falls into place, I should say, not fall apart, but falls into place. Apparently, Renee Young has addressed the criticism of her commentating skills. Me personally, I don't have a problem with Renee Young as an announcer. Personally, she has her moments, but I don't have a problem with her as an announcer. My main problem with anybody as a fucking announcer is fucking Corey Graves. Okay, I do not like Corey Graves as an announcer on Raw or SmackDown. And yes, you're probably thinking he's got somebody in his ear. Well, whoever's in his fucking ear is making him look like a complete tool. Okay, maybe he needs to get rid of that bit and start focusing on himself, which is hard to do when you're especially when you're in WWE. But apparently, Renee Young addressed criticism over her commentary work on Raw, and was met with support by Natalya as well. So, yeah. So, a couple of tweets. I believe it was a couple of tweets. Oh, no, 3. One including the support from Natalya, but we'll get to that in a second. Apparently, somebody tweeted, "I would love it if WWE would stop putting shitty announcers on their shows. Mauro Ranallo and Nigel McGuinness are the only good ones." And Renee Young bounced, and Renee clapped back on that one. "And the checks keep coming in, punk." No, she didn't say punk, but that's what basically it was. And the checks keep coming in. So, anyway. And another one stated that, "I've watched WWE Rollins go from a babyface to no one likes you by accident, but talking about money. We get it. You have a high-paying public job. Cool story, sis. Perhaps the WWE should hold a class on how not to sound like an asshole in public." Renee says this: "Here's the truth. I know I'm not great on commentary, but it's my job. I try to get better each week. People love to tell me how bad I am, and as if I think I'm great at it. So I should just quit. What would that say about me. Not easy to learn a skill on the global TV show. Genetic global TV show, so anyway. But she also said, replying to, I think she still replied to Mr. Oh no, Renee replied to that comment there from at DAH Train 24 on Twitter, and she still replied to it. But Natalia pitched in with this. I think you're doing fantastic, Renee. You work hard each and every week to gain knowledge and experience while learning a new skill in front of the entire world. I couldn't be more proud of you. So there you go. But yeah, I think at least she admits it's not easy. And it's probably not easy when you've got somebody in your friggin' ear roll as well. So yeah. But like I say, I don't have a problem with Renee as an announcer. I don't have a problem with her being an announcer. My only issue was that idiot Corey Graves. That's my issue. With if there's any issue with the announce team, it's Corey Graves, in my opinion. I mean, you know it's bad when you find yourself agreeing with Michael Cole when he calls him out on certain stuff, which makes me cringe, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I don't have an issue with Renee Young as an announcer. I'm surprised she's still in WWE since her husband fucked off to AEW. But yeah, I don't have an issue with Renee Young as an announcer. It is what it is. Like I said, the only issue I have is Corey Graves. I do not like him. I find myself at times with pay-per-views and SmackDown shows, if I do watch SmackDown or even Raw, I find myself putting the fucking mute button on when he talks. Because sometimes he's so full of shit and he tries to be the heel commentator. I don't even know what he wants to do or wants to say. He's sucking up routine when he tries to be the heel and sucks up the chain and calls him the best in the world. I know Corey doesn't believe that shit for 1 minute. And if he does, he's a fucking bigger idiot than he already is. But, you know, I don't know. I just don't like Corey Graves. I could take him when he was on NXT, but you know you suck when you have to put the mute button down. I just don't get it. I don't. I'm sorry. The whole thing, the whole thing's a clusterfuck in my eyes. It really is. But anyway, guys, I suppose that's about it. That's the main topics I wanted to discuss today. I've already covered everything I wanted to cover, and yes, this might be a short video, guys, but I'm not doing them 2-hour shows that I used to do back in the day anymore. I'm not doing them 1-hour shows. I might bump it up to 1 hour and a half if I can, or depending on whatever and everything like that, but I'm not doing them 2-hour shows no more. You know, this is the kind of platform you're getting with these shows now, and you know, like I say, I've only been doing this now a couple of months, 3 months max, so I'm building it back up, and hopefully I can push it out as far as I can. So with that being said, guys, thank you for listening, thank you for tuning in, wherever you may be watching this, whether you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or even any audio shows, wherever this goes out, I don't know, but I hope you guys enjoy this anyway. My name is Anthony Walker, thank you for tuning in, it is absolutely appreciated, and I'll see you next week. Peace.